It's only natural to be afraid of the dark. While most pretend to have overcome their childish fears, a proper nightmare will always find them scrambling for a light, something to protect them from the things they know cannot be, even as their thundering heart contradicts their logical mind. After all, anything could lurk in the shadows, slither through the deep water, or crawl through the mountain caves. Surrendering to that terror is a path to power. Those that walk the path of oblivion seize their inner darkness to fight the monsters that hide in the abyss. More often than not, they become the monsters they sought to destroy. Y'all ever notice how so many different classes in Dungeons & Dragons have different options to be goth? Bard has College of Whispers, Cleric has Grave and Death domains. There's Shadow Monk, Gloomstalker Ranger, Shadow Sorcerer, Necromancer Wizard, and the entire Rogue and Warlock class. But you know who doesn't have a goth option? Barbarian, which is wild because the word Barbarian means non-Romans. And when the Romans were referring to barbarians, they were referring to the Goths. So I'm here to right a wrong. That's what all these subclasses generally are. I've made a lot of D&D builds, and I've seen the stuff that isn't in D&D. So now we have the Goth Barbarian. It's the path of oblivion. Design philosophy here is to make a barbarian that takes up a lot of space and is great at taking up space, as a tank should. We're going to do that by getting reach and giving people disadvantage when they're close to us. Not literal disadvantage, though sometimes literal disadvantage depending on whether or not they have dark vision. Basically, we're going to make a big dark inky void, and that's going to screw up the enemy plans. Which means that I kind of made another Venom subclass. Yeah, like I know that we did a Venom subclass last time, but that was because I wanted to make like a thick boy monk, you know, like a sumo wrestler type thing. And then I was like, we'll make it based off of oozes, because like there's no subclass based off of oozes. That's fun. And I'm like, oh shoot, that's Venom. So like that's why that turned into Venom. And this is turning into Venom more because I guess it's more directly Venom in that it's stretchy, inky darkness goo thing. But before we talk about that inky darkness stretchy goo thing, let's talk about something tasty. Factor, this video's sponsor. That's right, gamers, this video is sponsored by Factor. It's a new year, and Factor is a great way for you to stick to dietary goals you're setting. Factor sends you dietitian approved meals right to your home. They're ready to eat in 2 minutes, so you don't have to wait around or fuss and muss in the kitchen with a lot of icky cleanup. You can pick based off of your dietary goals, whether you want calorie smart options, keto options, vegetarian options, or even just chef's choice. I've tried all the different variations. They're all great. Trust me. Factor can also help you with another popular New Year's resolution, saving money. The takeout trap is no joke. They're adding so many fees every time you want to have food delivered, and Factor makes that cheaper because they're just sending you ready to eat meals. You pop them in, you eat them up. Then you're not ordering takeout. Takeout's expensive. So if you want to get started with Factor today, head to factor75.com or click the link in the description. Then enter offer code 50Tulok at checkout for 50% off your first box and free shipping. Again, head to factor75.com or click the link in the description and enter offer code 50Tulok at checkout for 50% off and free shipping on your first Factor box. Now, let's figure out what this Barbarian's all about. At level 3, you enter the Boundless Void, letting you create a void weapon. There's a lot of wordy text. Anytime you do a conjured weapon, you have to write a lot of wordy text, but I can simplify it here for you, and then you can dig into the nitty-gritty of the rules as you see fit, if you want to, on the Patreon, where the subclass lives. Basically, you choose a simple melee weapon, you give it 5 feet of reach, and it does force damage instead of its regular damage. This helps barbarians deal with a major weakness they have, which is not getting around that pesky physical resistance that a lot of enemies have. Now, a lot of DMs will give you a magical weapon, but I'm not your DM. I've never been able to do that. This helps get around that. Force damage is cool. It's the darkness, eldritch damage. You can also choose to resist all damage except radiant. You will be vulnerable to radiant while you're raging, and you'll have to make a DC 13 Constitution saving throw if you take 10 or more points of radiant damage. Failing that, your rage ends early. It's like Bear Totem, but with a much more common weakness to be weak to and a vulnerability to that, rather than just being susceptible to it. So I think it's fair to do. And if it's not, I don't care. I'd rather make something busted and fun than something boring and fair. And finally, you gotta get dark vision. Because, you know, if you were the Darkness Barbarian and you didn't get dark vision, that would stink. so you can see in dim light and dark light as though it were bright light, which is actually a little bit better than dark vision. At level 6, you become one with nothing, giving you advantage on all saving throws, and tremor sense when you're in darkness or dim light. I like tremor sense because the flavor of people stepping on your shadow and you feeling it is pretty neat. It's actually only on like monsters in the monster manual. There isn't a way, as far as I'm aware, for a player to have it, so we're breaking new ground, gamers. At level 10, you get uncontrollable darkness, and this is where stuff gets a little funky. Again, this is a big, long description, but stick with me. Basically, you make a big aura of darkness around you, giving you all the benefits you get when you're hanging out in the darkness. That aura of darkness slows down enemy creatures and gives you an extra attack. All this sounds really, really good, so let's nerf it a little bit. If y'all have seen my other homebrew videos, you know I love giving you abilities with a cost. So for you, that means a DC 13 Wisdom saving throw at the start of each turn while you have your Darkness aura active. And if you fail that saving throw, you gotta move in a random direction and hit someone that you could get within melee range of. You don't get to choose. It's random, so you might hit a teammate, and that might use up that extra attack you got as part of your aura. But if you make the Wisdom saving throw, it's all great, and you can do good stuff with it. Since you have advantage on all saving throws while you're in dim or dark light, it's something that's mostly going to work out in your favor, but sometimes could lead to some bad shenanigans. I like bad shenanigans. It's fun for stories. Finally, your capstone is the Abyss Embraced, doubling your movement speed when you're in dim light or darkness, giving you true sight in dim light and darkness, and making you invisible in dim light or darkness. It also adds an extra D8 of cold, necrotic, or force damage to the attacks you make with your void weapon while you're raging. That should help you out with your damage. A lot of simple melee weapons don't have the best damage die, so with brutal critical, you'll be getting like, at best a D8 from a great club. This makes sure that even if you want to use something like a spear or a hammer or a dagger, that you still have a good die you can double with the brutal critical. Now that we've got all those abilities, let's start theory crafting some fun multi-class options. For artificers, there's really only one good choice, and that choice is Armorer. The Thunder Gauntlets from Armorer are simple melee weapons, which means that you could make an Armorer who used the simple melee weapon of the Thunder Gauntlet as your void weapon to give it 5 feet of extra reach. And you can optionally have it do force damage instead of thunder damage, depending on if something has resistance to that. I also love the flavor of a Tinkerer who makes a suit to control the darkness seething within them. Sounds fun. This one wouldn't even be all that mad. You need the multi-classing minimum for strength in order to, multi-class of 13. But after that, you can just sink it all into intelligence and constitution. Armorer is good like that. It actually cuts down on madness. Again, you're containing your rage. Cutting down on madness. God, I'm good. Unfortunately, Barbarian doesn't like to multi-class as much as some other classes do. Mostly just because when you're raging, you can't cast spells. So Bard and Cleric, you could do it. It would be fine. You would just kind of be playing two characters. Now, Druid gels very, very well because you can rage while wild shaped. So you can go Dark Bear or Dark Gator or Dark Mouse if you want. Fighter always multi-classes okay with Barbarian. Basically, you multi-class over to Fighter if you want to get a bunch of extra attacks. Specifically, I designed this so you cannot get the 3 attacks from Fighter and also the extra attack from the 10th level ability because 10 plus 11 is 21. You can't do that. I thought that would be a little bit busted. That's kind of why that big splashy ability is on the 10th level. Are there specific things about this subclass that go better with Fighter? Not really, other than giving simple melee weapons reach. That could be pretty useful if you want to do that. Now, Monk would be very mad, multi-ability dependent, because you need dexterity, wisdom, and strength to all be 13 plus. But simple melee weapon is also the requirement for a monk weapon, which means you could multi-class into this Barbarian to get some rages, just go up to the 4th level or so, or maybe even only the 3rd level, to give your monk weapons reach, and that would be pretty fun. Obviously, pair it with Shadow Monk, that's the easiest flavor win, but you could also be funky and mix it up with the Sun Soul Monk to get light and darkness going. It wouldn't be good, but you could do that. Hey, speaking of doing that, multi-class with a Paladin. You'd need a Charisma modifier. That's pretty fine, you know, just 13 or higher. Smites don't actually require your charisma modifier, and they don't count as casting spells, so you can smite while raging, and now you got reach smites. If you want reach smites. You're also playing around with the light and dark flavor. I think that's pretty fun. Warlock would work in a similar way. You can get a packed weapon, you can Eldritch Smite while you're raging to use those spell slots while raging without having to worry about, you know, not being able to cast any spells. That's pretty good. I wrote Ranger down as a joke because you'll be really good at tracking things at night, but like not better than a Gloomstalker would be already, I don't think. Really the best option is the Secret Sleeper best multi-class for Barbarian. Rogue. Multiclassing with Rogue gives you reach on a dagger. It's a dagger with reach. It's the shortest weapon in the game, and now it's got reach and finesse, and you can sneak attack while you recklessly attack. Cunning action with your extra movement speed from fast movement, also doubling your movement speed in the darkness aura later if that's something you're that committed to. You only need 2 levels of Rogue for cunning action, and then the auto invisibility at higher levels guarantees you your sneak attack. There's definitely a lot of fun you could have multiclassing this with a Rogue. So what do you think of the first homebrew subclass of Palace Lake? Let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you would like to do with this Barbarian in the comments below. We'll be back with another subclass next month at the very latest. Hopefully we'll get one out earlier. It just takes a little bit of time to get these done. All right. Thank you very much. Goodbye.